Hailey, and today I'm going to be doing my February book haul. So today's book haul is sponsored by Chapters Indigo, which is the bookstore that I work at. I will leave a link to their website down below, but you can also go and visit a store near you to see all of the bookish goodies and all of the not bookish goodies and just all the beautiful things. This scarf is actually from Chapters. I'm kind of addicted to my own workplace. But it's really no surprise because it is an amazing place to both work and shop at. So for once, I've actually read quite a few of the books that I have to haul today, so let's just get into it. So the first book is the Indigo Teen Staff Pick of the Month for February, and that is the Hazel Wit by Melissa Albert. How gorgeous is this cover? I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and it just looks beautiful in the light, and even the end papers are so pretty. But I actually read this way back in October, either end of October or early November, and I read it as an arc, and I have mixed feelings about it. I did really enjoy it, but overall it was a little bit slow going, so I think if you go into it knowing that, then you'll be okay. But it's all about the main character Alice, and Alice's grandmother is this writer of these really weird and dark fairy tales, and her grandmother actually has kind of this cult following, but Alice has never met her grandmother, nor has she read these fairy tales. But her grandmother ends up dying on her estate, the Hazel Wood, and right after that, Alice's mother ends up mysteriously disappearing. So this book just takes you on this wild, whimsical adventure through this grotesque landscape, and today would actually be the perfect day to read it because it's really dark and kind of gloomy, very foggy out and rainy. Really, this is just the perfect rainy day read to just curl up with a blanket and a nice hot cup of tea or coffee or whatever you drink and just binge read this because it is super weird and honestly just fits the atmosphere so well. It's a very atmospheric read. I definitely do recommend checking it out because I think it's an interesting take on darker fairy tales, and it was just a really cool story overall. Next, I have 3 books that are from the same series, and that is the Books of Bayern series by Shannon Hale. So these are the last 3 books to that series. So this series started off with Goose Girl, and it's an older series. I'm not sure exactly when it's from, but I actually just read it this past year. Although I did finish the last book in this year, but I absolutely love this series. It is definitely one of my new favorites, and Shannon Hale is just an amazing author, and she's, once again, another one of my new favorites. But here I have book 2, Enna Burning, which is my favorite of the whole series, and then I have book 3, River Secrets, which is my least favorite, but I still really loved it. And finally, I have book 4, Forest Born, which was so great. I honestly just fell in love with this series, and I know I'm super late to it, but I'm so glad that I ended up discovering it because it was amazing. I love these characters, love this world, it was just awesome. Also, because it's the Books of Bayern, a lot of people ask if it has anything to do with Bavaria or if it's set in Bavaria, and it's not, but I think it's titled that as a nod to the inspiration because it is inspired by the fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm, specifically the Goose Girl fairy tale. Next, I have another book that I've already read, and that is The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody. This was actually the last book that I read in 2017, and I read it specifically on New Year's Eve because it is set on New Year's Eve in Denver Airport. So Denver Airport has been completely shut down because of a mass snowstorm, and it follows 2 characters who end up running into each other, like physically running into each other, and then accidentally swapping phones. And for the main character, Rin, this is really difficult because her phone is kind of like her security blanket. She has a text that has been there for a year and she has never read it, and it is from her best friend who died a year ago in a drunk driving accident. So it is the last words that her best friend ever said to her. This really surprised me with how much I ended up enjoying it. I thought the story was so well done, and I love the fact that it took place over just a 24-hour period, and I grew to really care for these characters and their stories. And even though it was set in such a small setting, I mean, an airport isn't exactly a large setting, it still was a very dynamic read, and I was super invested in it, and I ended up loving it a lot. So it was a great note to end the year on. Next is The Librarian of Auschwitz by Antonio Iturbe, translated by Lilith Thwaites. So this is a book that I haven't read yet, but I'm really looking forward to reading, but I'm kind of waiting to be in the right mindset to tackle it because it's going to be a very emotionally intense story. So I'm just going to read the back for you here. So it is based on the experiences of real-life Auschwitz prisoner Dita Kraus. This is the incredible story of a girl who risked her life to keep the magic of books alive during the Holocaust. I'm really looking forward to learning the story of such a brave woman as Dita and learning more about her life, and I think it will encourage me to look even more into it beyond this book. So I'm hoping that I will be able to get to this one very soon. Next, I have 3 adult books here, and they are all by by Alison Weir. So these are Tudor Era novels. I love historical fiction, as you guys might know, and I specifically really enjoy reading about the Tudor era, and I've been having trouble finding a really good author to get into for that specific era. I know there's Philippa Gregory, but I haven't absolutely loved any of her novels. I do have a few that I have picked up and I still need to haul actually that I'm going to try out, but Alison Weir is another one that I found in my research, and she really intrigued me because she is actually a historian and she has multiple biographies on different figures from the Tudor era. So I ended up picking up 3 of her books. So I picked up Innocent Traitor, which is a novel of Lady Jane Grey, which you might know because of My Lady Jane by the Lady Janies, which is an amazing book that I absolutely love. But she is the 9 days queen. So she is queen for only 9 days before she ends up getting beheaded, and she's basically just caught up in the maniacal schemings of her parents, and it's just, she has a very unfortunate and tragic life. Then I also picked up the Lady Elizabeth, which I ended up picking up because I love Queen Elizabeth I. I'm fascinated by her as a historical figure. I think she is just a woman beyond her time, because even though she's a woman and everyone is supposed to dictate what she's supposed to do, she's very defiant. Even the fact that she remains a virgin is her defiance. And I've actually already read this and it was really, really good. I ended up thoroughly enjoying it. This focuses on Queen Elizabeth in her youth. It actually ends when she is about to become queen. And I thought that was a really cool perspective on things, because that's not normally what you hear about. But you see her trying to make sense of her father and his 6 wives and all the stuff that he's doing. And then there's kind of some what if questions that are addressed, which I thought were very interesting. And finally, I picked up the first of a series that she has going that I believe she only has 2 out, and maybe the 3rd is coming out soon, but it is the Six Tudor Queens series. It's a series of 6 novels, each following one of Henry VIII's wives. So this first one is of course Catherine of Aragon, who came from Spain, and then she was supposed to marry Arthur, Henry VIII's older brother, but Arthur ends up dying, and then she ends up just caught in the crossfires once again, which seems to happen to a lot of women in this age. But I'm so looking forward to this series. I think it seems like a very cool concept, and I'm hoping it delivers. Next, I have a book that I'm sure you guys have seen before, and that is Zenith, the Andromeda Saga, which I always want to say Andromeda, but this is by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. So both of these authors are YouTubers themselves. Sasha Alsberg is a Book Utopia here on BookTube, and Lindsay Cummings does a lot of videos on writing that are super, super helpful, and I really love both of them. And I actually ended up going to the signing at Indigo Yorkdale, which was tons of fun. It was so great to finally meet someone else who is on BookTube, and I also got the chance to meet so many of you, which was amazing. I've already read this. I actually listened to the audiobook, which I think was the right route to go for me, because I did have a few issues with the writing that the audiobook made it a little bit easier to listen to and kind of get past those issues. It was a really entertaining read, but I did have quite a few technical issues, which I will talk about more in my wrap-up. But that being said, I am still immensely proud of Sasha and Lindsay for having their names on a book. It is so great to see a booktuber's name on a book. It gives me hope for my own book. Finally, I have 3 giant books here. So these are annotated Fairytale books, and all of them are edited by Maria Tatar. So first we have the Annotated Brothers Grimm, which I have actually been making my way through. So I am on the Juniper Tree. So I'm about halfway through, which is good. Next is Classic Fairy Tales. So this just has a bunch of different fairy tales in here, and I just love the fact that this has like photos in it and annotations in the side. It really helps my understanding of the fairy tales and kind of delving deeper into them, which my inner English nerd is just like, yes. And finally is Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales. So I'm very excited to get to this one, which I will probably get to right after the Brothers Grimm. So that is all for today's book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much to Chapters Indigo for sponsoring this video. Definitely go and check them out down below. And if you can, head over to a store near you, because maybe you will find me there. Probably not, but maybe. If you did like this video, don't forget to subscribe. I put out new videos every Monday and Thursday. You can also follow me on my social media. So I have Twitter, and my Twitter is @HailesandBookland, and I also have Instagram, and my Instagram is @HaileyandBookland, but all that information is down below for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!